We want to take you to Ocala, Florida, where Governor DeSantis is speaking about Hurricane Milton.
The eye of the storm is going to hit. I think the most recent models have it somewhere in Manatee County, just south of Tampa Bay. But I would just tell people, one, there's going to be impacts far beyond wherever the eye of the storm is. Two, you could make landfall anywhere from Citrus County down into southwest Florida. We'll know more over the next 12 to 18 hours, but just cones, all this stuff you see, the impacts will be broader than that, particularly with respect to storm surge on the west coast of Florida. I know that there's a lot of folks who have evacuated, who are in those areas, and you absolutely could get whacked with really serious storm surge. Really, almost every place on the west coast of Florida could get major storm surge. Today I held a joint call with state legislative leaders and the cabinet to brief them on Florida's efforts on the storm and about our resources that are being offered and being utilized by the state of Florida. We also did a similar call to Florida's congressional delegation. I've also spoken to the president and the FEMA administrator. We've had our request approved for pre-landfall. We will get a landfall, major disaster declaration approved once the storm hits, and that will be things like debris removal and individual assistance. We still have 51 counties that are under a state of emergency. There's pretty much warnings or watches on almost the entire Florida peninsula. A lot of attention is being paid to the storm surge on the west coast of the Florida peninsula, and rightfully so, because that's probably the most serious threat to people's lives and property. But this storm is going to go across the Florida peninsula, and it's going to exit on the east coast of Florida into the Atlantic Ocean, likely still as a hurricane. So that is going to bring significant impacts all across the state. So just be prepared for that. That may mean mobile homes, even interior, other structures that may not be hurricane-proof. That could create hazards, rivers, other bodies of water. As you have more rain and you have flooding, that could be an issue. And then you could have surge on the east coast of Florida. You could have erosion. You could have different things at the coast. So this is not just an event about the west coast of Florida. That will be where the initial impacts and probably the most significant, but the impacts will not be limited there. So here we are at the Florida Horse Park. We have staging areas around different parts of the state. And there are different sites that are doing different things. I mean, for example, you go to like Lake City, you got a lot of the utility linemen there that are staged. We've had a lot of people staged in the Tampa Bay area for utility and other things. But this one right here is really good. I'm not saying Ocala is not going to have any impacts from the storm, but we fully anticipate be able to move people where they need to go very quickly once the storm passes. And we have different partners that the state contracts with. They have personnel, I think, as you see, they camp out here. This is where they are, and then they're able to respond. We got massive amounts of equipment here. Land, air, sea vehicles, supplies, generators, equipment, bucket trucks, you name it, this stuff is here. And so this is just one of many sites that are ready to go. The reason why we do state of emergency, we did it over the weekend on Saturday. We knew the storm wasn't likely to hit until middle of the week at the earliest, because you want to start amassing these resources, and that's what we've done. I think it's been really, really important. So on this property, you got over 2,000 pieces of equipment, including a lot of pumps, a lot of generators, light plants, display boards, restroom trailers, laundry trailers, forklifts, air-conditioned units, electrical equipment, water hoses, bunk trailers, and rollback trucks. 400 personnel here, including riggers, equipment operators, pump crews, and drivers. Fuel trucks are also here to be deployed as needed. Florida DEM is currently in the process of completing 1,200 missions. So far, you're looking at deploying hundreds of thousands of shelf-stable meals, hundreds of thousands of water bottles, hundreds of thousands of sandbags, a lot of tarps and a lot of generators, and many other things. And so that is being resourced to the counties. And then, of course, we also have staging areas that we'll do with our pods once the storm passes. We have utilized flood protection devices in areas to protect against storm surge. We've now deployed more than 11,000 feet of those Tiger dams. That's really important to protect hospitals, wastewater facilities, and electrical infrastructures. Of course, we've been outfitting counties for years now with Starlink internet, so that's going to be available to be used as needed. In terms of fuel, we amassed a lot of fuel before this particular emergency. We actually had it for Helene, didn't really need to use it for that. We have 268,000 gallons of diesel, 110,000 gallons of regular gas on standby. That's just from the state. You still have the fuel at the ports that are being brought in. But then we also have another 1.2 million gallons of both diesel and gas that are currently en route to the state. Now, I know there's been a lot of lines at gas stations. You obviously have an inordinate demand for fuel, much more than would typically happen. What's happening is there's long lines, the gas stations run out of fuel, but the fuel supply is available. So then they ask for more fuel to be brought. And so what we're doing is we've authorized Florida highway patrols to escort with the siren so they get there quicker major fuel trucks. So we've had 43 fuel trucks that have already been escorted by Florida Highway Patrol to deliver fuel to stations, particularly in the anticipated impact area. We're also working with companies like Circle K, Gate, Racetrack, Wawa, Shell, and Walmart to ensure fuel trucks are working 24/7 to keep fuel delivered as it comes into our ports. There's no longer fuel coming in to some of the West Coast ports like Tampa and Manatee, but they've got a lot of fuel there on dockside that is going to continue to be used. And I spoke with both ports of Tampa and Manatee today, and they've got a lot of fuel. So that's continuing to happen. And then fuel has been coming into East Coast ports. That's probably going to stop soon. Maybe it's already stopped now. But again, there's a lot of fuel that's on hand that can be brought out on the dockside, and that's what we're looking to continue to see happen. Debris removal from Hurricane Helene. I think most people know the counties and the cities, they have contracts for debris removal after a storm. There was not necessarily great job all around on some of the contractors in places like Manatee, Sarasota, Hillsborough counties. We saw this debris once it was clear there was going to be some type of storm this weekend. We decided to create a state support debris mission. And what we've done is we've mandated the landfills are open 24 hours. We had one county where they didn't have anyone there manning it. We opened it up forcibly, make sure that debris can be brought in. So that's Florida Department of Transportation. They've now deployed over 300 dump trucks so that work to remove debris 24/7, and they're going to continue to do it all day today and as long as they can tomorrow before we start to feel impacts from the onset of the storm. So as of this morning, Florida Department of Transportation has removed over 1,300 truckloads of debris in a little over 48 hours. That's a huge, huge amount. Now, there was issues, so the most debris was probably in the Pinellas County beaches. You also had Manatee, the barrier islands like Anna Maria, a lot of debris. That was our initial focus. Sarasota also had a lot of debris on their barrier islands, and I guess their contractor kind of left them holding the ball. So we've now surged over 100 FDOT vehicles between Manatee and Sarasota working to step in where the contractors left off. And we're going to continue doing that, again, all the way until it's no longer safe to do so. We've made a huge dent in this. The more debris we can get picked up, the less damage is going to happen, whether that's floating into the Gulf of Mexico, whether it's projectiles that go into other buildings. We have hundreds of state search and rescue personnel, a total of 26 teams embedded in potential impact sites along the West Coast to begin immediate rescue operations as soon as the storm passes, should the need arise. I know a lot of people have left, and hopefully there's not a need for a lot of rescues, but those personnel will be there if they need. We have 5,000 National Guard that are on duty. That'll expand to 8,000 very, very soon. We have a total of 34 search and rescue aircraft. We've gotten a lot of support from other states, and we thank them for that. We have 450 tactical vehicles, including 140 high-wheeled vehicles, aerial, water, and ground National Guard search and rescue teams. This is probably the largest National Guard mobilization in advance of a storm in Florida history. We also have the Florida State Guard, 10 maritime crews, 3 high-water UTVs, 2 UH-60 Blackhawks, 4 drone teams, 15 cut and toss crews, 2 amphibious rescue crews, and almost 200 Florida State Guard soldiers. Linemen and power restoration resources are being marshaled. We now have over 43,000 linemen who are being brought in from as far away as California, so we appreciate them for power restoration. We've also assisted with the evacuation of 300 healthcare facilities in the potential path of the storm. State veteran nursing homes that are currently located in the cone are accepting families of residents to shelter with them, as they are all built to withstand Cat 5 hurricane winds, and they're outside of flood zones. Florida Disaster Fund. This was activated after Ian, Idalia, and Helene. If you want to support for Milton, go to floridadisasterfund.org. This is really significant way to help people. You should be executing your plan now. If you're going to get out now. You have time today. Time will be running out very shortly if you wait any longer. Of course, there's a lot of mandatory evacs that have been done. We have done the shoulders on the I-4 and the I-75. Veterans Expressway and Suncoast Parkway tolls have been waived. Those can also be used as evacuation routes. I-4 is doing a lot better today than yesterday. Still traffic, but that's it. That's the norm for that. I-75 northbound, 20 to 30% higher volumes. Alligator Alley is pretty jammed right now. We have an unprecedented effort underway. I want to thank everyone that's been involved. It's not easy, especially when you've just responded to a Category 4 storm, Helene, to have it done. I know everybody's tired. Trust me, we get it. We're wearing out the Celsius at the state EOC, but what you're doing is important. Hang in there and let's get the job done. Okay, Kevin?
We've been listening to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis talk to reporters ahead of Hurricane Milton's landfall, which is expected on Wednesday evening. DeSantis said that the current models are for it to hit south of Tampa, but we'll know more in the next 12 to 18 hours. The governor also warned residents about the storm surge, saying every place on the west coast of Florida could get major storm surge. He says 51 counties are already under a state of emergency and that the entire peninsula is either under a hurricane watch or warning, with Milton expected to leave as a hurricane. So it will keep its strength as it moves across. In addressing long lines at gas stations, DeSantis says they're moving fuel by using highway patrol to deliver it faster. He said the state has 268,000 gallons of diesel, 110,000 gallons of regular gas on standby from Helene, with more than 1 million gallons of regular gas and diesel en route. And more than 43,000 linemen are on the way to restore power from as far as California. He concluded with the message, if you're going to get out now, essentially saying time is running out.